Okay, picture this. You're a young widow in ancient Bethlehem. Life is tough, right? You're gleaning fields just to eat, and your options for security are, well, limited.
That's where Ruth finds herself in chapter 3 of the Book of Ruth. And let me tell you, her mother-in-law Naomi has a plan, but it's a real head-scratcher at first.
It is.
Yeah.
So we've got Ruth, who's been nothing but loyal to Naomi.
Oh.
But why this elaborate plan? To understand, we need to unpack the social dynamics of the time.
What's fascinating about Ruth chapter 3 is that it pulls back the curtain on ancient customs that seem so foreign to us now. We're talking family redeemers, levirate marriage. It's like a whole different world.
Exactly. So what's going on here?
Imagine losing your husband, your land, your entire livelihood. That's where the kinsman redeemer came in, like a safety net for the family. He was obligated to marry a deceased brother's widow and care for her and her land. This kept property within the family and provided for vulnerable women.
So it wasn't just about romance, it was about survival. And Naomi, seeing Boaz's kindness to Ruth, thinks maybe, just maybe, he could be that redeemer. But her plan, uncover his feet at night, that's her big move.
It might seem strange to us, but Naomi knew the customs. This act was directly tied to the tradition of levirate marriage. It was a way for Ruth to declare her need and Boaz to publicly acknowledge his potential responsibility.
Let that sink in for a moment. It's a completely different mindset than how we approach marriage today. But back to the story. Ruth, brave as ever, follows Naomi's instructions. She goes to the threshing floor, a place buzzing with activity during the harvest, and finds Boaz.
And here we see Ruth's incredible character. She would have balked at Naomi's plan, but she trusted both her mother-in-law and God. This act took guts.
Talk about a high-stakes situation. So Boaz wakes up and is surprised, to say the least, to find Ruth at his feet. How does he react?
Boaz is surprised, but kind. And here's where it gets interesting. He praises Ruth's character and her commitment to family. He could have easily reacted badly, but he saw her actions for what they were. An act of desperation, but also of honor.
It says a lot about Boaz, right? He's a stand-up guy in this situation. But there's another twist, isn't there?
Absolutely. Boaz explains that there's actually a closer relative who has the first right of redemption. But he makes a promise to Ruth. If this other man won't step up, he will.
Okay, so now we're on the edge of our seats. But before sending Ruth home, Boaz gives her 6 measures of barley. You might be thinking, why all the fuss over some barley? Well, hold on to that thought, because it's a bigger deal than it seems.
It's huge GE. In their culture, barley wasn't just food, it represented sustenance and provision. This gift was Boaz's way of saying, I'm serious about this. I will take care of you.
So we've got Ruth heading home with this barley. What does Naomi make of all this?
Naomi is thrilled. She sees the barley as a sign of Boaz's honorable intentions, a down payment on his promise. She knows this isn't the end of the story, but the beginning of something hopeful.
This entire chapter is a whirlwind of customs, intrigue, and bold moves. It leaves us thinking, how far would we go to care for our family? And what does it really mean to be a redeemer in today's world? We've certainly got a lot to unpack from this story, so what stands out to you, our dear listener? What questions do you have after this deep dive into Ruth chapter 3? Let us know in the comments below.